I told you about that dancing to the theme music.
I just need a girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, and you need to figure out what to do with a girlfriend, too. So, we won't. And once again, you can't fix stupid, but ignorance is a lifestyle choice.
And choose wisely.
Yeah, and not only that, you're going to have another about 28 and a half minutes of silly because you know what? That's what the hell we do. So, John, surprise me. What do you got?
Well, I'll tell you, I was reading about how the people who own Roundup's rights, which is now Bayer Aspirin, they all buy each other. And the jury awarded a suit for $2 billion. And you know, I'm a little bit older, so you know, I was thinking, too bad they didn't award this suit for $500 billion. The guys would say, "Oh boy," and they give him the deed here. You own the company. And then as soon as they walk out of the courtroom, the next guy walks up, judge walks up, or a lawyer walks up and says, "Hey, we're suing your company." Guy's not going to get nothing.
But that's how it works. You know, the rich get richer and the poor get screwed. It's doing it to me again, John. All right.
Well, I'll keep talking for a while. You know what? I think what happens is when you push it more than once, it locks up.
I've tried everything, and it just doesn't like me.
Well, let me see. Oh, so today I get to do a soliloquy.
Well, it's soliloquy, but you
it
mean
worked.
You mean a
Don't
solo?
you touch it again.
Maybe I better not. Because I did ask about it. I was told that it's a software problem, not a hardware problem. But, you know, that's what they all say. The engineers and programmers say it's a hardware problem.
Yeah.
And the people doing the actual work say, no, it's a software problem. And you know what?
Yeah.
It doesn't get fixed either way.
And for me, it's a soft in the head problem.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised at that either. I figured if folks will notice here, punch yourself.
Well, I just had
If
one
you
more.
notice, John's head is on upside down, but the headset's on the right way. But
Hey.
they're talking about the $2 billion. Now, I saw these people on TV and everything. You know the Alanis Morissette song, old man, 90, turned 98, won the lottery, died the next day?
Yeah.
These people are so old, and I'm not picking on, but come on. Unless they buy a foreign country, they're not going to be able to spend that money, which they'll never get. We discussed that earlier. It'll be lowered on appeal. But if Roundup is so bad, why did not only an American, I don't know what you call it, some government agency, and the equivalent agency in Europe both found the product in Roundup to not be carcinogenic? So I don't know if these people are drinking this stuff, putting it in their tea, but supposedly it's not going to hurt you. I mean, I've been exposed to a lot of stuff, and I'm no goofier than anybody else my age, I hope.
And I was goofy before I had any exposure, you know?
Well, that's why they don't include you in the studies, you know?
Yeah. You know, when I first started watching Big Bang Theory, I thought the star of the show was the goofball. I identify with the goofball. I didn't know that it was the little guy with the black hair who went out with Penny. I thought it was the whatever his name is, the goofball. I thought he was the star.
He's just the one that has the resume. He was actually in Roseanne years ago. He was the son of Roseanne for a while.
Wow, well, it doesn't like me either now. Let's see. So
okay, he said no. He said if it
release.
doesn't work, just wait a while. It'll work again later.
Okay.
So you got to run your mouth again.
Oh, hey, we're back to the host now. It did work.
You know what I was taught in Catholic school was not to use swear words or profanity. You just say snatch a wretch, a scratch a fraz. And it works almost as well.
Yeah.
Well, here, I'll put on the magic glasses so that I can read English again.
And I use pot liquor because that sounds nasty.
We've got a lot of interesting things in this general area in southeastern Michigan. Here's one. In Southfield, Michigan, a man threatened police at their headquarters recently. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the last place I would threaten anybody is somewhere where there's a whole bunch of guys walking around with guns in their pockets. On March 14th, an officer working at the police department's front desk when a man entered the lobby. Police said the man seemed irate and he had his hands in his pockets. The man stepped in front of a resident that the officer was helping and yelled, "Arrest me." When the officer asked the man why he should be arrested, this man says, "'Cause I'm going to whoop your blank," and continued to threaten the officer. The officer at the desk then notified dispatchers, and several officers responded to the lobby and took the man into custody for disorderly conduct. Police said the man was highly intoxicated. He refused to go to the hospital and refused to give officers his name. The incident and the suspect are under investigation. They're probably under the floor of the jail right about now. I mean, how stupid can you be? Why would you? That's like these guys that want to commit suicide by cop and they go out and do something stupid hoping the cops will kill them.
Yeah.
Well, certain things you should be granted wish fulfillment. It's a way of, other than Darwin Awards, it's a way of cleaning up the gene pool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really. What they ought to do is they ought to auction off the right to walk across the shooting range. Because the people who want to commit suicide, they just walk across the shooting range, and if somebody pops them, the shooting range can make a little money for the funeral and all that. But you know what? I would have loved to have been the guy standing behind him, and when the guy says, "Arrest me," I would have reached around behind him and grabbed him and said, "Citizens arrest! Citizens arrest!"
Oh, God. There, it's finally working. But you know what? This is probably part of the other problem we have in this area where people are having one drink, but it's so big that they literally are becoming intoxicated to twice the legal limit for one drink. Because every time they get pulled over, the police ask them, "Have you been drinking?" Their answer is always, "I only had one, officer." So what does that tell you about people being overserved? Obviously, they're much, much more generous at the bars in this area than in other parts of the country.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but I've had to talk down some of my old friends from the '60s, the old hippies. They heard there were potholes, and these people been going sniffing the roads. But I think the only way we're going to fill up the potholes in the roads is we're going to have to take politicians from Lansing. And if the pothole's big enough, you throw a politician in there and then just throw a little asphalt on top.
Would it be all right if there's a smaller pothole, we just cut up pieces of the politician? Because we'll never run out of politicians. We might someday run out of asphalt.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It is possible to run out of asphalt. Now I imagine the SWAT teams are going to come in here. Our one fans are going to call SWAT on us because we said we wanted to fill the potholes with politicians. But if I say it...
John, wait a minute. You know darn well anybody that listens to this show doesn't know how to use a phone anyway. So it's probably going to go by carrier pigeon or snail.
Well, I guess what we should say is fill the politicians with pot. Maybe they'll make a better decision then.
Once again, you have confused logic with fun. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does. That does make sense. That would be a great thing if I had the Mission Impossible team. We'd sneak a bunch of high concentrated THC because as soon as they saw the smoke, they'd all evacuate the building. We'd want to put it out real high concentration and put it in the air while they're all sitting there and they're discussing bills and debating and stuff. And it would just be so fun to see them go, and the guy starts looking at his thumb and he just gets lost,
And what dispensary did you stop at on the way in?
Well, I did have to see my doctor, and I told you I was going to be a little late. But the Freedom of Information Act means I don't have to answer, right?
No, actually, that's the Fifth Amendment, but we won't get into that. I actually have a very nice lady that's a bit of a constitutional expert. At least I hope she is. Otherwise, it'll be another funny show. But we'll be having her on eventually. We're just trying to get the times together. Yeah,
we want to bring her in, and I can bring out some of my crazy stuff, Like, I'll save it for her, but I'll give you a preview. I want to discuss the rights I would have if I was a trans cat.
John,
Well, you know,
John, no, I don't. No, I don't want to know anything else about that. That is, yes, I do. I can't help it. I'm sorry, folks. Why a cat?
why a trans cat? Because
No, I understand the trend. Why a cat?
why a cat? Because cats get to get away with a lot of stuff. When nobody's looking, they jump up on the table and they eat somebody else's food, and they don't get shot or beat up or nothing. They just get yelled at, you know. Or if somebody puts down some catnip, well, hopefully somebody will slip a little marijuana in there too, and then I can get high, and it's okay because he's just on catnip. He's a trans cat. Nobody arrests
I'm
a
sorry.
cat.
All
when
this
they're-
time I've had this on me while I have been studiously watching you because the machine's screwing up again.
Well, actually, Art was doing the ventriloquism stuff. That was him speaking, and
And you never saw my lips move.
and he impersonated me straight on.
No, I'm goofy as heck sometimes, but I don't think I'm quite that far gone yet. Jeff.
Well-
I mean, let's move on. This is getting, woo.
Yeehaw.
A man decided to take a quick snooze in somebody else's car. Well, number one, they always tell you, don't leave your doors unlocked. You never know what or who's going to get in there. On March 8th, Farmington officers were dispatched to the 23,000 block of Orchard Lake Road on a report of suspicious person. The reporting party told police that an unknown man was sitting in her car. Okay. After police arrived, they made contact with the man who said he'd been walking home after drinking at a local bar and attempted to go to a family member's house nearby. The man told police that he went on to the wrong house and decided to sleep in the vehicle. He was taken into custody for disorderly content and was lodged at the Farmington jail. Now, just a little heads up, just because you've had too much to drink and you don't want to get a ticket for drunken driving, walking is not going to save you. I had a very close friend years ago that knew he had too much to drink, knew he was going to a party about a mile away, and that he would be having too much to drink, so he rode his bicycle. He got a ticket for drunk riding. He literally did.
What I'd like to caution people and say, look, if you want to avoid the ticket, you need to find some bushes and crawl under the bushes and take a nap there. And if
But
any,
they're in Texas.
yeah, and I guess they got Secret Service now too. But crawl under a pine tree or something, and if somebody, and before you go to sleep, grab a few pine cones and put them in your hand. And if they wake you up, you say, I was gathering these pine cones. I hope it's not illegal.
Oddly enough, for certain areas it is.
And then if they say, well, it is, then say, well, I'll leave them here. Then just let me go. And hopefully you'll be sober enough by then.
Let me tell you about a trick that some people I know used to use on a regular basis. You're at work or somewhere where you're not supposed to. You decide to take a little nap. No matter what you think, feel, see, hear, do, the minute you're coherent, you stop, you make the sign of the cross, put your hands together as if you're just ending a prayer, and then open your eyes. Because there is absolutely no rules, regulations, or laws against praying.
Yeah.
And you got to shut your eyes to concentrate, don't you?
Yeah, that's what the guy should have been under a pine tree, and then when somebody touched him and said, "Hey, what you doing there?" He crosses himself and goes, "Amen." Well, I was praying. I'm a druid. And they say, "You can't be praying under somebody else's tree." "Oh, sorry, officer. I'll go home now."
But that's the fun part. No matter what, I mean, even at work, people say, "Oh, take a power nap." Forget a power nap. Pray for 20 minutes, and there's nothing they can do. You are guaranteed your religious freedoms. Right up until the time it includes some really strange things that some people I know used to do, but we won't get into that right now. So, we didn't do this, but you always have some good Darwin. Well, let's move over to them for a minute or two.
Okay.
We're getting too serious.
Push me, pull you. 2070, from Germany. Near midnight, a 49-year-old man attempted to impress his wife with his unbelievable strength. He climbed over the balcony of their 7th-floor flat, clung to the outside of the parapet, and began a set of pull-ups. After a few pull-ups, which were undoubtedly impressive to his wife, his sedentary lifestyle began to take its toll. His muscles lost strength and he was unable to lift himself back onto the balcony. He eventually fell 7 stories, 8 if you include the ground floor, and impaled himself on a thorn bush. Ooh.
Ooh.
The official verdict placed the blame squarely and pointedly on the macho showman of the deceased. And then here's another one. The German men, they are macho. The German man is not alone in his efforts to impress a woman. An 18-year-old was lured by the siren song of the guide rail over his girlfriend's 11th floor balcony. Attempting to impress the lady, he too began a set of pull-ups, only to lose his grip and plummet 11 stories, 10 if you omit the ground floor, to land face down on the parking lot. The Ohio coroner was more charitable than his German counterpart. The death was ruled accidental. So really all I can figure is that nobody was there. There was no tape. Maybe after he did a few, the woman stepped on his hand, and caused it. I mean, if she really wanted the guy, she could have held onto his hand a little bit or but, I guess maybe he had good life insurance policy. I don't know.
And I was just thinking, if you ever really wanted to try to talk someone into a 3-way, you could always call the other person your spotter. Oh, I'm bad.
Put a trampoline under that,
Oh, that is. Okay, here's another one. I want to clear. I went through some of these over the weekend. I want to clear some out because there's just no limit to ignorance caused by thoughtlessness. But I'm not sure if that really applies right now. But what the heck? Police responded to a report of a disabled vehicle blocking the right lane of northbound Rochester Road, just after 6 a.m. According to the police report, a blue car was missing its passenger side tires, had a broken front tie rod, and was leaking oil. Police believe the vehicle struck a curb at a high rate of speed before arriving at the spot where it was found. Well, that's probably a safe bet. With 2 wheels missing, it don't go very far. The driver, a 30-year-old Sterling Heights man, reportedly was naked from the waist down.
Ooh.
Must have hit it so hard it ripped his pants off. Police said he smelled of alcohol and admitted to drinking alcohol 2.5 hours prior. The driver failed sobriety tests, which he performed with a towel wrapped around his waist, probably to make the police stop laughing, and blew a 0.16% blood alcohol content on a breath test. Now, this is kind of, anticlimactic. He was arrested and charged with drunk driving. Duh. Of course he was. Then there's another fun one. And again, it's all these bars. It's the bar's fault for over-serving these people.
They should put the bar's owner in prison. That's what they should do.
Yeah, that ain't going to work either.
I'm starting to sound like a leftist now.
Yeah, you sound like you're more like a nutcase.
A social justice lawyer.
Here's a case where, police tried to pull over a 2016 blah, blah, blah for an equipment violation one time. According to police report, the male driver would not stop on a freeway and exited onto a side street, which I can see. I've done that myself because you're going to talk yourself out of a ticket. You try to do it where you know the cop's not going to hit by a car while you're talking to him. Police put patrol cars in front of and behind the man to stop his car, according to the report. Police said they opened the passenger door and saw that the passenger airbag had deployed. According to the police report, the driver had red, watery eyes and could not maintain his balance. He could not answer simple questions, and he smelled of alcohol. He would answer a question, then fall asleep. The driver reportedly blew a .235 percent blood alcohol content. Police also said they found cocaine in his jacket pocket. He was charged with possession, drunk driving, and there are pending lab reports of a court-ordered blood test. Why don't they give him a test for mental acuity? Because obviously that's seriously missing also.
Yeah, although I did like his thing, how he fell asleep in between questions. Because if if you do that, they're less likely to grab you and throw you on the floor.
I,
But again, he should have put his hands up and started praying. And then when the guy would ask him a question, he'd say, well, let me finish this prayer, officer, and I'll get right back to you. And then if the guy says, I'm going to arrest you for a drunk driver, and say, well, okay, but I got to finish my prayer, and can you handcuff me with my hands together in front so I can finish my prayer?
Actually, I shouldn't mention this, but speaking from experience, usually you can pray when you're handcuffed.
Yeah. You know what? In order for this America to be a kinder, gentler America, we should have all police cars equipped with a reverend or a, what did they call them in the military?
Chaplain.
Chaplain. A chaplain in every police car,
You know what I don't get, now that you mention that? How come that the bartenders, trying to be your friend, will overserve you alcohol, supposedly, and sometimes you just overdrink alcohol. I'm not picking on the bartenders, understand? But then the chaplains never seem to overserve religion to you. You ever think about that?
Well, I guess it's... Well, although I've seen some people who've been drunk on the Holy Spirit, They made some crazy decisions. I saved myself, no editing needed. And they made some crazy decisions, and people, people just followed them and believed them. And, I honestly believe, though, that God put me down here on this earth, and he's willing to wait for me for a long time. Whether I live 100, 200 years, it don't matter. It'll come on its own. There's no way I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
Well, I try to keep my head down, hoping that I'll just kind of be ignored or forgotten. Speaking of that, though, oddly enough, Holy Spirit, that really prompted me of something that I heard about years ago. An extremely religious group decided to brew their own, open a small brewery, a craft brewery, and hoping kind of to garner the Almighty's favor, they named their new drink God's Will. And the problem was, once everything got printed up and got out to the stores, nobody would buy something that said God Swill on the bottle.
Yeah, that's good. And I missed my opportunity because I'm a punster, but somebody beat me to it. They named their beer Hebrew.
Okay.
But really in this day and age, I'm surprised somebody didn't sue them for sexist marketing. It should have been called
You should be able to buy right and left-handed bottle or whatever, however it works. Yeah, she brew. Yeah,
she brew or they brew. But maybe I don't know if they brew sounds good.
Well, you're going a little bit too far because then you have to start doing with it brew, and I just can't.
Trans brew.
No, that doesn't work.
Now trans brew wouldn't be beer; it'd be whiskey, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm starting to wonder a little bit about you, John, because you seem to be kind of obsessed with the whole gender thing. Who cares? If you find me attractive, fine. If I say no, leave me the heck alone. That's And if you don't let me know. So I can do without the negative stuff.
Send emails into to the
555.
Yeah. Yeah, we are on Facebook. For better or for worse, so send the stuff in there, and whatever. We're looking forward to getting a comment from Facebook. Give us a charity one, guys. Send something. Well, really?
No, you know what? No, but technically, I totally forgot. But yeah, we have several episodes on Facebook. I forgot about that. But then I try to forget about Facebook anyway.
Yeah, me too. Although, I would. Never mind.
And by the way, the Chicken's got the day off today. We're in negotiations with him. He wants more money, and I'm not going to make a stupid comment about he works for Chicken Feed anyway. We'll just let that one ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to you, John.
Well, I'll tell you. Here's another one about falling in love from the Darwin Awards.
The emphasis on falling?
And this one is confirmed true by Darwin. A passing cabbie found a 21-year-old couple naked and injured in the road an hour before sunrise. The 2 people died at the nearest hospital without regaining consciousness. Authorities were at a loss to explain what had happened. There were no witnesses, no trace of clothing, and no wrecked cars or motorcycles. They must have been dropped out of a flying saucer. Investigators eventually found a clue on the roof of a nearby building. 2 sets of neatly folded clothes. Safe sex takes on a whole new meaning when you're perched on the edge of a pyramid-shaped metal roof. It appears if they accidentally fell off the roof. This is a true Darwin Award trifecta. 2 people died while in the act of procreation due to an astonishingly poor decision. Bottom line, if you put yourself in a precarious position at the edge of a pointy roof, you might well find yourself falling in love at the same time. Ironically, one of the deceased was named Tumbleston.
I thought you were going to say one of the deceased was named Robin.
Yeah.
Well, no, the first thing I thought of is that, like birds, because quite often birds will procreate in the air and they literally have to be completed before they hit the ground. I'm serious. Yeah, this happens.
Well,
I thought maybe they were, not mocking, what's the word I want? Emulating the birds.
Yeah, well,
We're talking about the birds and the bees anyway, so.
Yeah. I think if they're going to do something like that, they should be jumping out of an airplane, say at 20,000 feet, so they have a chance to finish the event, Well, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. One of our viewers is going to see that and set it up, and we'll read about that in the future. And there will be a little thing on Facebook that says that crazy John told him to do it, and it's not his fault.
Now we're going to have to start using a disclaimer. Do not do this at home.
Yeah, thanks for following someone. Instead of fiddler on the roof, it was diddler on the roof.
Or fiddling around on the roof.
Fooled around and fell in love.
Fooled around and fell a long way.
Yeah, and of course the one guy said, "Here I come."
Okay, that is just beyond bad, John.
Yeah, okay.
And would you believe we're down to less than a minute and a half?
Geez, a minute and a half? Geez, I'll let you all guys know, you don't need drugs, you don't need beer, just listen here and be silly.
Well, I look at it like this. If you look at things with a slightly skewed view, I mean, you don't look at things head on. You step off to the side to where that ventriloquist, you can suddenly see what he's doing behind there, and you start thinking like we do. Because let's face it, there's a whole lot of things in this world that need to be looked at with a much more investigative eye.
And after
good example. I don't know for sure, but I bet you all the preachers and politicians go to the same school that teaches you to preach with one hand and reach into somebody else's pocket with the other.
Yeah, I think you're right. And
any final thoughts for today, John?
Well, it's just that be careful when you look at the man behind the curtain, because after you see the man behind the curtain for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you start expecting everyone is got a little bit of a shyster in them.
But you know what? Much as I hate to say it, I think they all, the good ones do. They become politicians. And there we go.